Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97 on ESPN Radio. It is great to be with you. I'm Jeff. That's Matthew filling in for Tom. We're online, ESPN Tallahassee.com. And if you'd like to listen there, you can stream the show. You want to email, you can. JCS at 979ESPNradio.com. On Twitter, it's at J Cameron Show. I think you can use the WTSM app. I know you can watch us on YouTube. Hello, YouTubers. Hope you're well. Libations Friday, loosey-goosey edition of the program. Lee Sterling will join us next hour, my mom in the 5 o'clock hour. All guests appear via the Phone Hero hotline. Phone Hero specializing in iPhone and iPad repair. 2 locations, 2915 Cary Forest Parkway, 833 West Gain Street, online at phoneherotlh.com. Football tomorrow. Basketball tomorrow. 9 a.m. Tallahassee Game Day gets underway. You can listen to it right here on ESPN Radio. You can also join us on the YouTube, again, War Chant TV on YouTube, myself and Tom Lang. We hit to the airwaves or the stream at 9 o'clock. Feel free to fire away with questions, queries, quibbles, whatever it might be. Feels weird to be playing tomorrow. It's been too long. The mojo, the energy, it seems to be devoid of real feel. I can't quite. No, normally you've got an idea or a gut or some sort of angle that you feel like needs exploring here, and I can't find it with this FSU Duke game. Truthfully, the focus seems to be more on FSU basketball. I feel like we've all taken that hard right turn and decided, okay, I'm done with you over here, football. I'm moving on to basketball. Besides, basketball brings me more joy. I like hanging out with basketball more. You're a downer, FSU football. You go on your own way. I'm courting basketball. But in fairness, Florida State obviously has an opportunity here tomorrow against Duke. And you do want to garner a win. You do want the last thing you see from Florida State at Doak Campbell Stadium to be a win this year. I know it won't mean all that much. Big picture stuff, this season's a wash. It's another losing campaign. Another losing campaign. Damn it, man. But I'd sure like to see a win. And I think there are things, or at least some things, maybe not as significant as others would believe, but I do think there are things you can take away from whatever happens tomorrow in this football game. Nothing substantial about the number of wins Florida State can expect next year or the direction of the program 3 and 4 years from now, but rather the impact certain coaches have or have not had on the existing, and in this case, remaining roster. And, yep, 2 fingers to my eyes, 2 fingers back to you, Coach Fuller. I have dwelled on this because it's the one facet of what I've witnessed over the course of this season that has continued to perplex or cause angst for me. I get it. When you're lacking personnel and you don't have a pass rush and you're thin at corner and you're thin on talent, it doesn't really matter what you call. You're not going to be able to execute it. That's fair. That's fair. Sometimes you're just not good enough. You got to get better. You got to get better players. You got to get bigger, stronger, faster to give yourself a chance to execute what you're trying to do. The problem is, for much of this season, I don't know what we're trying to do. And that is troubling. I feel like there's been searching. I feel like there's been a bit of grasping at straws at time. That doesn't exactly fill one with confidence moving forward that things are going to improve all that much. When there seems to be confusion from the man in charge of making sure there's not confusion. Now, I'm not there in the film room. I don't get to see the All-22s. I don't get to hear what it is they were attempting to do. I don't get to see which of those players most consistently screw up the concept. I can watch with my own eyes and deduce based on my football knowledge. I can find the context clues and say, well, this is what I think they wanted to do here. That didn't work. And again, when those kinds of things happen, I don't get nearly as angry as maybe others do, because I can at least then say, oh, well, they were trying to do this. The linebacker got beat. They were trying to do this, but they couldn't get home, and the quarterback was able to buy time in the pocket to the tune of 7-8 seconds, and a receiver came open, because that's what happens when you ask your secondary to cover somebody for nearly 10 seconds. I get all of that. But there are times where, again, back end, front end, left hand, right hand, not knowing what the other's doing, and that's where the concern continues to grow. And so we're coming off a bye. Duke has been fairly impotent, pretty listless on the offensive end. If there's one thing Duke's been known for this year, it's turning the football over at an alarming rate. They don't really seem to do much of anything all that well, certainly not in the passing game. So that's a good marriage, because Florida State's thin. Florida State doesn't have much in the secondary. Florida State is in real trouble there. And so it's nice to see a team come limping in here without much of an identity on offense, save for massive turnovers on the regular. Then again, as we've sometimes projected here this week, will Duke look at the film and go, whoa, 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 we got us a shot, boys. This secondary is awful. And they just lost their best player in Asante Samuel. We got a chance to move the ball. Let's whip up our ponies. Let's go. We can make it happen. So I hope not. I hope that they remain in that malaise. Just sort of this, I just don't want to be here. Our coach doesn't want to be here. He's told everybody we're done, but now the ACC is forcing us to go down there and play this game. All right, let's get it over with. I hope, because I'd sure like to see these kids rewarded. I do think, and it shouldn't go underappreciated, I've brought attention to this a little bit. There have been a couple articles this week. Pete Thamel wrote one, but there have been multiple articles in the last 3 weeks about what kind of sacrifice college football players have had to give this year in order to get a season in order to play games, any games. It's been unreal what they've had to give up. You have no social life to speak of, and you're in college. Think about you in college. Think about what it was you enjoyed about college, the things you learned while in college. It was a lot about the social structure, wasn't it? It was about how you related to other people from different worlds, different sexes, all of that. You've kind of figured yourself out there, and they haven't had a chance to do that, and yet they've been asked to remain incredibly disciplined and focused with no real outlets other than to play the games, and even this group hasn't been able to do that the last 3 weeks. So all of that practice, all of that weightlifting, all of that training, all of those moments where you have to remain isolated so that we don't have another COVID outbreak and you can get this game in order for the university to collect its money, all of those pressures, right, and no reward on the field. I'd love for these kids to get the win tomorrow because they've worked hard to get the win. They're the last man standing. Look at all of the players that have opted out. Look at all of the kids that have entered the transfer portal or just said peace. Or been told, find the door, have a good day, don't let it hit you in the ass. So that all adds up to not much left. But the ones who are left, well, I dare say they give a damn. I'd say they care. And that for you going to the game tomorrow should be your attention, right? That should be your focus. Like the guys I'm watching tomorrow care to be a Nole. They love Florida State football. They love their teammates. They are sacrificing big time, not only for our entertainment, those watching the game tomorrow, but for the betterment of the school, their teammates, their coaches, all of it, and the financial end. So I do think you might find motivation in that. You might find a game that doesn't really matter, but kids that really do care, that have committed to it, and therefore deserve your support. And I would think, too, that they got a chance in the run game tomorrow. That's really been the area of expertise for Florida State this year, where they've improved quite a bit. Alex Atkins has done a good job. Now, this is not a good offensive line, and they're missing key components, but they've played well together as a unit. They've gotten better. The run game's the one thing you've been able to hold your hang your hat on. I would think if you get a healthy Toa Feely tomorrow, Corbin's been better lately. Obviously, remember no LaDamian Webb, but a healthy Jordan Travis running read option, running spread. This is an opportunity to gash Duke on the ground. And judging by what I've seen lately, the Duke defense hasn't had a lot of interest in shutting down the running game. So offensively, I feel okay. Defensively, I keep coming back to it. I'm hammering them a little bit here. They've been pretty listless lately, Duke has. I don't need to see a case where they roll in here and drop 31 on you. You're going to have – it's going to be hard to feel good going into next season, even knowing all of the other aspects at play here, even knowing the sort of personnel issues and the COVID issues and all of that. It still will not exactly derive confidence moving into next season with Fuller at the helm if they haven't shown that even well, name a game. You got to go back to – a half against North Carolina? A half. Because they sure didn't get stops against Louisville. They didn't get stops against Pitt. They didn't get stops against NC State. They surely wouldn't have gotten stops against Clemson. I doubt they would have gotten stops against Virginia. Maybe, I suppose. But you really haven't seen a game where they played well on defense. Nary a one. Might we get that tomorrow? I hope. Florida State basketball will touch on it as well. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Did I do the all-guest appear via Phone Hero? I think I did. I love you, Phone Hero. PhoneHeroTLH.com.
the way I always do.
I'm always amazed. I would not encourage you to go find this video, but it has made its way through the internet and now is certainly something people have noted nationally. There is a Georgia youth football coach who was fired after a video of him punching a player, a youth football player. Player is wearing a helmet, hits him twice. It's awful. He screams in his face. It's a terrible situation. The whole thing is enough to make you nauseous. I sometimes hate the fact that the internet is so instantaneous and pervasive because you stumble into things that you can't unsee. I'm always telling this to my children. Can't unsee things. Be careful. Any kind of violence against kids, obviously, universally, we all are moved in some cases to rage or tears or both. I can't bear witness to that kind of stuff. Can't do it. And but what I get back to is, I've coached youth football. I loved it. It was so great. And you get emotional and you might yell at kids. And in fact, the kids that you really think have a chance to be great, you yell at the most. All of that's true. But you don't hit a kid. You don't slap a kid. That's insane. And he's been fired. But the weird part of that story is, as you read about it, I guess I should give you some details. The Chatham County in Georgia Sheriff's Office has terminated one of its employees after a video went viral of the employee hitting a player at a youth football game. Jarrell Williams was a coach for the traveling Savannah Gators football team. He can be seen in the video hitting a player at the American Youth Football National Championship in Kissimmee. This happened on December the 7th. I would think that at this point that's a crime. I would think that he would be charged. That's not within the realm of the game. He's seen knocking the player to the ground. He's seen, screaming at him, hitting him, and then yelling in his face, all those things. I would think. Now, he issued a public apology. Nice of you. He did not make an excuse for what he did. It's a 37-second clip. I would guess that would be charges forthcoming. Doesn't say it in that article, but we're probably headed down that line, that you'd have to charge a youth football coach for punching a player. It's amazing the things you think about, the way things used to be. And I'm certainly not one of those folks that's soft on discipline. I think most kids want to be disciplined. They certainly don't want to be punched. It's just nuts. Can we segue to something happier? I don't get a chance to do this much because you don't produce on a daily basis, Matthew, but you are today. And I was just reading during the break, before we move on, at some point I got to talk about Leonard Hamilton and this basketball team tomorrow tipping off against Florida with the opportunity to win their 7th straight. But I was just reading an article about the Eagles struggling to deal with this Carson Wentz mess. What would you do? You're a lifelong Eagles fan. We're not too far removed from him having a season in which he was well on his way to becoming the MVP before that injury. And now it would appear, certainly, that that injury has derailed a once promising career. You're armed with both the knowledge of what he could be, because you've seen it when he's really good, but also what you have now seen since that injury, which is a guy that looks completely broken. I feel like he's broken, and I know one of the things that will come up, and it is brought up at all times, hey, he's been sacked 50-plus times this year. Okay, yeah, he's responsible for a lot of those sacks. When I watch the Eagles play, his twitchiness in the pocket, he sees the rush every time. He moves into trouble constantly. They're not good up front, and they've had injuries. Nobody knows your team better than you do. But he causes a lot of those sacks. He's waiting to get sacked. He catches the ball almost with the intent of dodging the sack before he looks anywhere down the field. Guys come open in their routes. He's not looking downfield. So I would put most of these sacks, or at least a lot of them, on him. At the same time, what do you do in a situation where Wentz's 4-year, $128 million contract is in the way? What do you? Who's taking him on?
I think it depends on, number one, how good of a draft pick they could get, because I don't believe in Hurts. If they do, then I think that's a mistake. And you also have to take into consideration the timetable for the ACL injuries. So this is his second year back.
Yeah.
So he probably doesn't have his feet under him. But this is also mental.
Yeah, it's big time mental, I think, now.
So
You're kind of screwed.
Is Fields available?
It is a really, really weird scenario. The Eagles, at this point, your best bet is to just lose out, and I think you will. But it's funny to watch the Sharps. They all feel like they have an angle. Every week, somebody thinks that the two teams that every week somebody thinks is going to play well, the Falcons and the Eagles, they never play well. It's just, they don't. They're not going to get it together. They're not going to suddenly figure it out. You don't get to this place. He's not going to figure it out, and I'm with you. I don't think Hurts is going to make a difference. Their whole situation's kind of broken there. Wentz ranks 30th out of 32 quarterbacks in passer rating, 31st in completion percentage, 31st in average gain per completion. He's thrown the most interceptions in football this year, and he's been sacked the most times in football this year. And again, I think there's a correlation there. It's not all this offensive line. A lot of times when an offensive line is terrible, the sacks lead to poor decisions or quick decisions, and then you can kind of deflect some of the blame from the player. I think this is opposite. When I watch the Eagles, he's the reason that they're giving up so many sacks. And it doesn't help that you can lead the league in sacks and interceptions, because not only are you taking too many sacks, you're also making incredibly stupid decisions. So with the ball in the air. So he's also a guy that showed immense promise and talent. I don't know. That contract really does prohibit the Eagles from doing much.
If they do move on from him, the only place I don't want to see him go is New England.
Oh, because he'll whoop ass.
Correct.
The plan was to develop a quarterback who could serve as a much cheaper backup than perhaps spending $8 to $10 million on a veteran backup in free agency. That was the deal with Hurts. That would enable the Eagles to develop Hurts slowly, perhaps work him into games and here and there for gadget plays. Then by 2022, they could make a decision either to trade or release Wentz or keep him. They could say, okay, we like him. He's coming along. He's going to be okay. That would be when Wentz's 4-year, $128 million contract would be much more palatable to either keep him or move him on. One problem that the Eagles did not consider in April, back when they were having these thoughts, is what happens if Wentz gets worse? What happens if he regresses? What happens if he continues a downward path? Now they're 3-8-1 heading into their game against the Saints. By the way, good luck rolling a new quarterback out against that defense. Freaking brutal. And by all accounts, from what you read, Wentz is liked. Like, he's a good guy. The team likes him. He works hard. He's trying. I hate seeing guys, anybody, whether I thought they were going to be good players or not, predictions, prognostications be damned. I hate when you see good kids, good guys work hard, do everything they can to be the best that they could possibly be, get an injury and get broken, and then you watch them and you see it in their eyes. There's no other position in football where if a guy's dealing with stuff mentally, does it play out so obviously physical? Like, only at quarterback do you watch a guy and go, oh, that's a bad throw, sure, but that's a underlying, that's the result. The symptom is written all over him. Look at him. He doesn't believe he can make that throw. He doesn't believe in this play call. He doesn't believe he's not going to get sacked. He doesn't believe he can make plays.
I think you hit on something there that not a lot of people in the national media are talking about, but I think it's been underscored that Doug Peterson is an awful play caller. And that
he found lightning in a bottle your Super Bowl year? What's that?
No, Frank Reich called the plays.
Oh, that's what it is.
And then he went to Indianapolis,
and
then all of a sudden the offense drives off a cliff. So much so that he's given up play calls now.
So you have...
Now, I'm not saying that that's why Carson Wentz sucks.
It certainly didn't help.
No. So I think there might be a rift in between coach and quarterback that might also be playing into it as well.
Yeah, I wonder. It's a tough deal. I feel for him. I think when you're a coach and you've got a player with immense talent that is broken, that looks like he needs to be repackaged, rebuilt, start over, all of it, that you don't want to walk away from that. You don't want to walk away from that talent because it's been there and you've won with him and you've witnessed the best of that player. It's hard to find quarterbacks. And you took, as an organization, you took a chance on a guy that, obviously nobody was real sure was going to make it in the National Football League. And then that risk is rewarded. All of a sudden you see an MVP caliber season and you go, oh my God, we got it right. Awesome scouting. Good job, everybody. He's big, he's strong, he's athletic, he's all these things. the chances of you finding that again are pretty slim. It's very difficult, but at the same time, you can't just keep rolling the guy out there who's broken, and you're going to waste a season trying to figure that out so that the money's palatable. This is where it gets real fun as somebody who just likes the National Football League. I know it's your team, and that's a tough position to be in. We had a dissimilar situation, but some elements of it remain, I think, similar in that Jameis Winston's sort of all that ability, all that. There's greatness in there. I've witnessed it. We've all seen it. He's done things no other quarterback at his age has ever done. And then the flip side of that coin was he's also done some things that no other quarterback's ever done. And you just kind of, what do I do with this? It's hard to walk away. Well, when the Bucs walked away, they did because the contract situation was in their favor, and they could fall into Tom Brady's arms. The Eagles have no Tom Brady lingering out there, and the contract situation is not in their favor.
Nick Foles might be available.
I got to wonder about that too, man, because he looks terrible too. He looks like he can't play a lick. Is that just Nagy?
He always does. Anywhere else from the Eagles? Where did he go? St. Louis at the time? And he was
Oh, my God, I forgot about
awful.
that. He was in Jacksonville, god-awful. Bears this year, god-awful.
winning the Super Bowl with the Eagles.
And putting up numbers that we may never see again in a Super Bowl, and that includes one that will feature Patrick Mahomes probably several more times.
We're going to outduel Tom Brady.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do on a day in which Tom Brady throws for well over 400. Did he throw over 500 yards? 500 yards. That will still go down. That amazes me. You go through all those Super Bowls and you think to yourself, Tom Brady threw for over 500 yards in a Super Bowl game, did anything he wanted on offense, and lost. And not only lost, was outdueled by Nick freaking Foles. Now, that's not fair. They're not going against each other per se. But Jesus, man. Yeah. It's not the first time, though. I think that the Foles thing is interesting. The NFL is filled with historical runs from quarterbacks that you would have never guessed capable in that moment. I mean, you go all the way back to Pruitt and any number of other people where you're like, what in the, how did that happen? But there, every now and then you'll see a player and you're like, oh, okay, I found it. But I was thinking that Joe Flacco, one of the greatest playoff runs in the history of the league, when we talk about back-to-back-to-back games, betting on yourself, in a year, again, it was the Jerry Maguire. He's betting on himself. Nope, don't want your contract. I'm going to turn down countless millions because I can make a lot more. Watch me kick ass on the road, winning Super Bowls, or a Super Bowl. I'm going to get paid, and did, and hasn't been worth a damn since. But it worked. Got his money and called it. Sitting out there, sort of, these days as a bit of a backup, hanging out, making all kinds of money. What a good day at the office that is. That's good stuff. All right, I do want to talk basketball. I got to get to it. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Cool story, by the way. Florida State and Florida tomorrow at the TLC Double C. That game beginning oddly at 11, as we mentioned earlier. Again, pregame show 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Tallahassee Game Day right here on ESPN Radio. Also watch it on War Chant TV on YouTube. But the reason I bring this up is Solomon Alabi. You guys remember Solomon Alabi? He's this is a cool story for a lot of reasons. It's also just typical of what we see from Leonard Hamilton teams, players, former players, coaches, all that good stuff. Alabi returned to Florida State after a successful college and professional basketball career to earn his Bachelor of Science degree in interdisciplinary social science with a primary concentration in political science and public administration and a secondary concentration in sociology. He earns his degree from Florida State. That celebration is tomorrow. He becomes the 70th player during Hamilton's tenure as the Noles head coach to earn his degree. Congratulations to Solomon Alabi. More than 95% of Leonard Hamilton's players have earned their degrees throughout his college coaching career. Not just here, but throughout his coaching career. Obviously, pretty cool that he earns his degree on the same day that Florida State, ranked in the top 20, plays host to number 25 Florida. Quote, as a father of two kids, receiving a degree is very important because I'm hoping to use the degree as an encouragement to value academics and knowledge as power. My daughter tells me she wants to be a chemist, and I tell her there's no better place than FSU to get her degree. I've got friends in the chemistry department. I just thought I'd say that as a shout out to the folks in the chemistry department. Also, my mother back home in Nigeria would be very proud of her son being a Florida State alumnus. Well, we're proud of you, good sir. Think back to him starting at Florida State in 2007, later enrolled in 2013 with the intent of finishing his degree requirements while playing professional basketball at the same time. During his career, he played 3 seasons. He averaged just over 11 points a game. He was a 2-time ACC All-Defensive Selection in 2009 and 2010. He led the conference in blocks both of those years. Became the first player in Florida State history to lead the ACC in block shots. Quote, in college, basketball kept me focused on my academics, and I was able to balance my academics and my basketball. Once I became a professional, basketball consumed my time as it was a full-time job. I had to put my studies on hold. Once I started thinking of retiring, I knew that I wanted to complete my degree at Florida State. He helped the Noles lead the ACC in field goal percentage defense, scoring defense, and block shots per game in 2009. Alabi was a starter on the NCAA tournament team, both teams in 2009 and 2010. He helped Florida State to 47 wins and appearances in the NCAA tournament in those 2 years, played alongside Derwin Kitchen, which we remember well. It's amazing how fast the time goes by, though. I saw that announcement today, and I wanted to draw attention to it and salute Solomon Alabi. And, you know, he was you go back to his career, we remember him primarily as just a defensive player, a guy that could really change the complexion of a game on that end of the floor. He entered into the NBA draft. He was selected in the second round with the 50th overall pick by the Dallas Mavericks, traded on draft night to Toronto. He played 2 seasons in the NBA, played professionally then later on in Greece, played in Japan, played in Taiwan, played in the Philippines. He, he has said all along, if he could get an opportunity to come back to school, he would. He talks about his parents. He talks about Coach Hamilton, and talked about how important it was that he play for him. And you think about Coach Hamilton. You think about the impact he's had on this basketball program. You think about where we'd be right now with our football program in the side of a ditch without this basketball program to turn to and bring us up, cheer us up. But I always think of this aspect of his impact, and It's easier to do it. It's easier to draw attention to it and to shine a light on it when you're winning games, because I understand the other way around. The other way is this. When programs are struggling, any program, and you see it from afar, if you're watching, you name the program, high-profile program, say, at Florida or Georgia or Tennessee or whomever, if a coach is on the cusp of being dismissed, the last vestige of hope that you have is when they roll out the graduation rates and how the kids haven't gotten in trouble, producing men and good citizens. And that is important. That is important. But usually that's the fallback, and it's the last one that people hold on to before that guy's going to lose his job because they're not winning games on the court or on the field. What makes what has happened here so much more rewarding and remarkable is that all of this has continued to be the case. Graduation rates so high, the melding of men, the fact that these players, for Coach Hamilton and his staff, never get in trouble. All that's happening, and that's great, and it is important, and I mean that. I don't say that tongue-in-cheek. I mean that sincerely. Yeah, while they're also kicking ass on the court, while they're also winning the ACC, going to Elite Eights, Sweet 16s, and we think a year ago probably would have been in the Final Four. Heard Jay Billis say that the other night as well. He thought that Florida State had a very good chance. He had selected them to get into the Final Four. And I feel like we've won that guy over, and we've won over a lot of doubters over the last 5 years. But it should be duly noted that in addition to being able to build a program at a place like Florida State that is now a Final Four contender annually and produces NBA players yearly, then in addition, this is who he is, too. Bringing kids in, developing them as men, and getting them a degree. Well, now they have to earn it. They have to work hard. They have to do those things. But somehow there's a way. There's a way about Coach Hamilton. There's a way in which he speaks and relates to people and looks at you and talks to you. And you see the earnestness. You see the morality. You see the kindness, and you see the discipline. You see all of it. You see the total package, and then you watch these kids, they say yes. They say yes to a place that was not tradition-laden, where the program's reputation did not precede it. So I know I do this a lot, but I think it's important to continue to draw attention to a program that does everything the right way and wins a lot. They can win again tomorrow. It'll be 7 straight over Florida, and let's not pretend Florida doesn't have good players. They do, lots of them, and they continue to bring them in, and yet Florida State has sustained a level of excellence that surpasses that of Florida and beats them head-to-head on the court, and now we're getting to a place where the recruiting, what I'm interested in, and we know as we go through this season that they're just going to keep getting better. And I think you go back and listen, we got a lot of time to talk about this, but if you go back and think about, frankly, what they are on the defensive end. And I do this a lot when I watch them. I mean, they turn people over, and they set the record last year for turnovers, school record for creating turnovers. And when you look at a per possession basis, it's an alarming percentage. Sometimes it's in the top 3 in the country. They do that. That's their length. That's that depth, and that's that wave of athlete that they can throw at you. I mean, watching Scotty Barnes the other night, it's not always going to be pretty. He's going to sometimes look awkward because he's a young man who's grown into a 6'9" body, and he has those long arms, and he can be sort of quirky. Now, I think he's got fast feet, and I think obviously he is comfortable in his own body. But when you watch him, you realize he's going to be so much better by season's end than he is right now. And the other thing that stands out when you watch this team, because they're already doing it, they wreak havoc in the passing lanes. They alter so many shots. They create so many extra possessions, so many opportunities because they offensive rebound. They have done this exceptionally well. Hamilton teams in general, offensively, they rebound the ball, their own misses at a high rate. They're already through 2 games doing that yet again. So that's extra possessions, extra opportunities. So you don't have to be as proficient of a shooting team when you're giving yourself those extra chances around the glass. They do that. And then when you create turnovers and score in transition the way this team does because of that length, again, easy baskets, it helps offset off shooting nights from the floor. And I think they're going to be a better shooting team than they've shown up to this point. I think they're going to have lulls. I think they are going to have to find a working depth. They really don't have it yet. That's why you see some of these guys playing 39, 37, 40 minutes in a game. MJ Walker played over 40 minutes. That's insane. That's not ideal, and Coach Hamilton has talked about that and the need to figure this rotation out. The problem you have is, again, you had one game, North Florida, and now you go back-to-back Indiana, Florida, and you want to win these games. You want to learn about yourself. You want to figure out what you are. At the same time, you want to garner wins. And that's why I think that Indiana game was so huge. I'm not willing to say that Florida State's going to lose tomorrow, but I'm certainly aware of the fact that it's a distinct possibility. Florida's got a veteran team that's already played more games again, and they have got to be. I mean, I got to imagine Florida is tired of hearing about how it is they can't beat Florida State, how it is that they've been surpassed by the program here in Tallahassee. I would imagine that as regular season non-conference games go, they're going to ratchet up the intensity for this one. That's what happens when you lose 6 straight to your rivals. So they've got good players, veteran players. They play together really well. They're going to play small. They're very quick. I think that when you go back and you look at the matchups now, Florida State makes everybody look small. Florida State is routinely one of the biggest, if not the biggest team in the country. That's year in and year out. Leonard Hamilton and his staff do an amazing job of recruiting those caliber players. But Florida is small. They tend to operate as a small unit. You know. And I think that has really what's led to these losses that have stacked up upon one another. These 6 straight losses for Florida. 6 straight. Devastating. Now, saying that, they'll be small again tomorrow, but they are quick. And they do play well together. So it's a good test. But getting that win over Indiana sets you up that if you are to have a setback and the streak were to come to an end, knock on wood that it doesn't. If you were to have a loss there, you went 1-1 in a tough week. Point of that is that moving forward, you do get a couple of games where you can start to try to work on that rotation. You could see that he wanted to go with more core guys. I love that runs counter to what they would normally do, if only because he wants to get these wins. And I know he'll remain unfazed in his efforts in some of the other games to get guys out there and to get them serious minutes, significant minutes. He'll run the risk of a game being closer than it needs to be against a lesser team than, say, Florida or Indiana in order to get meaningful minutes for those guys that haven't played all that much up to this point, because he knows long-term in ACC play down the line, he's going to need contributions there. Lee Sterling set to join us next. Paramount Sports does every Friday. That's first segment next hour. Hanging. to Jeff Cameron Show. Happy Libations Friday, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Great to be with you. Thanks for listening. You can stream the show if you want, ESPNTallahassee.com. You can watch the show being performed if that's your cup of tea on YouTube. We're there. Hello, YouTubers. You can email us if you like as well. JCS at 979, ESPNradio.com. On Twitter, it's at J Cameron Show. Loosey-goosey. We like to get on a Friday. Love bringing in my man, Lee Sterling. We'll do it in a moment. All guests appear via the Phone Hero hotline. Phone Hero specializing in iPhone and iPad repair. 2 locations, 2915 Cary Forest Parkway, 833 West Gain Street. Online at phoneherotlh.com. Let's do it. Paramount Sports' Lee Sterling joins us as he's wont to do on Fridays. Hey, Lee, how are you, brother?
I'm good.
Good.
Beautiful weather down here, and that time of year, and we're winning, so I don't have a complaint in the world.
Yeah, my two favorite stories in the NFL right now, one of them involves a team down there. That's the Dolphins. I love watching what they do every week, and I think they're going to give Kansas City a game. We'll talk about it in a minute, but I also obviously the other great story is Alex Smith, but I would just say that watching the Dolphins and the way Flores coach and how hard they play, that's my favorite NFL story this year. I've really enjoyed that.
Well, I mean, they're 8-4. I don't think anyone expected them to be 8-4. They do have 4 really tough games, so probably realistically going to go 1-3 or best 2-2 down the stretch. But I mean, think of it. Start of last year, first 2 games, they're probably a year ahead of schedule. They lost the first 2 games by combined over 100 points.
Well, remember, this was the old tanking for Tua conversation, and the thought was that you're getting rid of Minka Fitzpatrick and all these other guys, and people are going, well, what in the world are the Dolphins doing? And what I like about this story is that Flores refused to use that as an excuse. He just got his guys to play hard every week, and at some point they had to abandon that strategy. They end up getting Tua anyhow, and now you kind of look at that team and you think, they're going to play hard every week. They're flawed, but they're going to play hard every week. And I enjoy that.
Yeah, I think it's a great story, too.
Florida minus 23 against LSU. Most years this would be fun. LSU's a dumpster fire, who I think, by the way, Lee, is looking at real serious problems down the line here. I wouldn't be surprised if old Ed O, a year removed from winning a national championship, isn't their coach in a few years. They've got problems.
So I always thought that. I thought that he wasn't going to make it. And he just found lightning in a bottle with Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
The roster was really good, and they had an incredible offensive mind there for a couple years, and it worked out. But now we're seeing, I think, the real Coach O, and he was here at Miami. I wasn't impressed with him when he was defensive line coach, and I think the end of next year, middle of next year, he might be gone, which is crazy. But I also am hearing maybe 8 to 12 guys might be hitting the transfer portal on Sunday or Monday. So look out for that. I'm hearing a lot of kids are upset and want to get out of the program. So, hey, your program might be able to get some kids, some grad transfers or some kids in the portal.
That'd be great.
So 2020, probably LSU's looking as an asterisk year. But if they lose this game, it'll be the first losing season since 1999 when they went 3-8 under Gary DiNardo.
Oh, man.
Last week, Alabama quarterback Mac Jones, he torched the LSU secondary for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. The only thing was that was only the first half.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think, Lee, by the way, I've said it all year to you. I think Jones is the Heisman winner. I think he's better than Trask by a lot. I wouldn't, to me, I don't even think it's that arguable.
No, unless Kyle Trask throws for about five touchdowns and close to 500 yards, I think it's going to be Mac Jones' Heisman to lose, But then again, he might throw for 150 yards. They might take him out early. Who knows? Still a week or two to be played. But Kyle Trask is thrown for 38 touchdowns. I think that Florida's going to keep their starters in most of the game. I think you either play the Gators or you get off the game. I like the Gators 48-17.
Miami's given 3.5 to North Carolina. I actually really look forward to this game. I think it's a good game. It's a fun game. How do you see it playing out?
Same way. And it's different stakes involved. But you obviously, I'm sure, remember the 1999 game where Miami played UCLA when UCLA was ranked first or second?
I do,
okay.
yeah.
Was that one of the fun games ever to watch?
Oh, it was incredible, and it was an Edgerrin James day, right?
Yeah, 299, and also I forget who was the left-handed quarterback for UCLA.
Oh, he was
really McNown.
Yeah, he was really good. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's back and forth. I think you're going to see that type of game here. And I think North Carolina's offense is incredible, 43 points per game. I just think they had one game where Notre Dame really game planned for them, and they were able to exploit their weaknesses. But Miami already lost Blades, their top cornerback, a week ago. He's done for the season. They're down to 4 scholarship cornerbacks, and 2 are true freshmen. I think they can be had. The only good offense that Miami faced was Clemson, and they gave up 42 points in the rain. They've got some good individual players, but I don't think they're quite there yet. I think Sam Howell with 64 touchdowns in the last 2 years is going to exploit that. De'Ara King's obviously going to be De'Ara King. I think he's going to be really good, but I think North Carolina might be playing with a little chip on their shoulder after losing at home to Notre Dame, and Miami might be a tad high on the horse after shellacking a defenseless Duke 48-0. It wouldn't shock me if both teams score above 50 here, but I'm going to predict North Carolina. They pull the small upset, 45-42 over Miami plus the 3.5.
What's the over on that game? What's the number?
67.
Okay. You're saying
hit it now.
All
hit it now.
in
I
on
already
that
did
over.
the over.
Yeah. The aforementioned Duke Blue Devils have no interest in playing football the last few weeks. They give up on average over 50 points a game in those contests, including a whopping 50-plus to Georgia Tech. I know they just got beat 48-0. Now, I would say they could be inspired by turning on the tape of watching Florida State and thinking we got a chance against the Noles. But Florida State's never lost to Duke. I'd sure like that streak to be the only one that remains intact at least. Florida State given 4.5. Your thoughts?
So Duke's offense, 35 turnovers in 10 games.
Unreal.
They are, now you know why most of these kids, no one wanted these kids. They lost also both their top 2 centers. And the left tackle is the most important position on the line in the NFL, but in college football, it's the center. And they lost 2 really good ones. Their offensive line's a mess. They've lost the last 3 games, 56-24, 56-33, and 48-0. Now, Florida State's offensive and defensive line is a mess too, but the favorite is 16-6 against the spread in the last 22 Florida State games. The race to win 3 games goes to Florida State, 37-28 over Duke.
There you go, buddy. 3-6. Here we go. Here we go. All right, in the NFL, I already tipped my hand here. I like Miami to give problems to Kansas City. The spread is 7 that you have listed. But why do people, Lee, normally I understand early in the year why people say it's difficult for teams to travel to Miami. They struggle with the humidity. I know all of that. I've been to Miami when it's hot. I know what it's like. But why would that still be the case now? Because I still hear that said. It's beautiful in Miami this time of year.
Yeah, it is. I think this is. I think Miami's a year ahead of schedule, like I said. So for that reason, I think that they're going to have a tough time matching up against Kansas City. Miami still has a bunch of holes in their roster. It's going to get filled next year when they have 2 1s and 2 2s, courtesy of Houston. But they're doing it with defense, 21 takeaways this year, great special teams. And I'm not talking about just 1 or 2 areas. Punting has been great, pinning teams inside the 10.
And they block kicks all the time, yeah.
Block kicks. The field goal kicker, Sanders from New Mexico, has missed 2 field goals. One was blocked, and I think the other was a miss. That's it. I think he's probably having a better year this year, believe it or not, than Turner. Tucker, Justin Tucker. And then the return game. They return a couple kicks for touchdowns, and they set up their offense for a lot of short fields. But the problem is the Chiefs are not going to be overlooking them. The Chiefs need to win this game. They need that first round bye. It only goes to one team, and they're tied with the Steelers right now. Great matchup is going to be Xavier Howard, who leads the NFL with 8 interceptions, matched up against 2 lethal weapons in the Cheetah, Tariq Hill here, and Travis Kelce. So problem is he can only guard one of them. I think Kansas City's just too much. I do think, though, that the Dolphins will be the team that's going to challenge Kansas City in the next 2 years. So I like Kansas City, though, in this game, 38-24.
My Bucks looking to get back on track coming off a bye. Minnesota has turned their season around to get to 500. If the playoffs started today, they'd be in. Now, there aren't a lot of impressive wins there. The one over Green Bay is nice, but for the most part, they have beaten up on some bad teams, and they've barely done that. The 1-point win against Carolina, the overtime win last week against Jacksonville. Their defense isn't good. Their offense is. Do the Bucks cover the 6.5?
I think it's going to be tough. Minnesota's played pretty good football since they started off 0-3, and they've actually done really well on the road. They played some of their best ball on the road and won 3 games on the road outright. So I think that Minnesota is going to be competitive here. Kirk Cousins has played really well.
Yeah, yes.
I mean, here's a guy that he's much maligned, but 14 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions in the last 6 games. So, yeah, I mean, you watch the Tampa Bay offense; they're still not there yet, and I think they're going to win the game 30-27. But I'm going to take the points here in Minnesota.
Your game of the week, I believe, is Georgia and Missouri. How can folks get that one?
Just call 800-400-9741. First 10 callers get it for free. We've had, like I said, an incredible run, 11 out of 14 winning weeks in the football during, crazy times. I don't know anyone that can match that record. So they want to hop on board. How about this special? We have a 45-unit play going in college football Saturday night. Normally, you got to be a monthly or season subscriber. I'm going to include it in the 5 for 55 pack.
Nice.
5 games, $55, including the 45-unit play, and also we're just killing it in the UFC. 25 of 34 winning cards. Normally, it's 5 selections for UFC 256, $55. I'm going to make it 5 selections, just $5. So why am I doing it so cheap? I know if I go 3-2, 4-1, or 5-0, you're going to come back for more. The UFC pays the same as a football or a basketball selection. So you want to hop on board? ParamountSports.com, 5 for 55 in football, 5 for just $5 in the UFC. Or call us here at the office, 800-400-9741.
My friend, I'll be awaiting that text for the 45-unit play.
Send it to you right now.
Be well, good sir. Take care.
Thanks, Jeff.
Lee Sterling, Paramount Sports, joins us every week on Libations Friday. That's always fun. Let's recap real quick. Florida minus 23.5 against a hapless LSU team that looks rudderless to boot. Miami minus 3.5 against North Carolina. He took the Tar Heels. Tar Heels here to cover that one. He's got the Noles beating Duke and getting that 3rd win. That'd be great. Knock on wood that happens. He's got Kansas City to cover the 7 against the Dolphins, and he's got Minnesota, I think, covering. Didn't he say against the Bucks? The Bucks winning, but narrowly. I could see that. And then his game of the week, if you want to get it, Georgia minus 13 against Mizzou. We'll come back, react to some of that, and move forward. Jeff Gabbard Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Reminder, folks, the deals have never been better in terms of getting a membership going over at Orange Theory Fitness. I've had a good week at Orange Theory Fitness. They've held my feet to the fire. I tell you what, the workout's challenging. I'm not going to lie to you. It's you're going to burn a lot of calories and you're going to work hard in a lot of different aspects of fitness. Treadmill, you're on the rower, you're on the weight floor. You do all of those things. They incorporate so much, and it's all science backed. So it's stuff that again involves the heart rate, and really pushing that and getting to a place where you do enough each day to get that heart rate up, bring it back down, and burn calories even after the workout's over for up to 36 hours. But the point I would make is that it changes the way you go about your day and the way you go about eating, resting, thinking, all of those things. Go visit my friends at Orange Theory Fitness and find out more. You hear me talk about them a lot. I just wanted to start by saying it's been a real good week over at Orange Theory. I've enjoyed my workouts. All right, so just a moment ago we were talking about the games this weekend, and I couldn't believe a story I read this morning. It struck me as pretty interesting and also absurd. So we know that the ACC championship game is set. That game will be between Clemson and Notre Dame. It's scheduled for December the 19th in Charlotte, same weekend that we're playing Wake Forest, we think. And the first time around, it was incredible. It was a double overtime game, and the Fighting Irish got the win. And what would be best for the ACC here would be if Clemson gets the win, and then two ACC teams would make their way, possibly, maybe even likely, into the college football playoff, and thus the revenue distribution would benefit Florida State greatly and benefit the ACC tremendously, obviously. What I didn't realize was, and I just did a simple check. I typed it in this morning to find out how many people are able to go to the ACC championship game. I wondered what the gate was going to look like. And 5,240 seats, that's all you get. 5,240 fans will be allowed to attend. That is in accordance with North Carolina state local regulations. That's how that works. There were, for example, 11,000 fans who attended the game at Notre Dame Stadium when they faced Clemson in the first matchup earlier this year. But here's the part of the story, because every state's different. Here's the part of the story that I thought, what? Who are these people? As of yesterday, tickets to the championship game are being distributed exclusively through the participating schools, according to the ACC. And get a load of their value. Tickets, again, this is Notre Dame Clemson in an ACC championship game. This isn't a playoff game, it's an ACC championship game. Tickets were previously selling on StubHub for $17,000? What? Per seat? $17,000. Who in their right mind would pay $17,000 to see any college football game ever? The national championship between the two greatest teams in the history of the world would not be worth spending $17,000 for. That can't be right. I looked. That's from the Charlotte Observer. Matthew, pull up StubHub and see if you can find an ACC championship game ticket. What is it saying?
I am on it.
There's just no way that's possible. You should be punched in the face if you buy a ticket for $17,000. I don't care if you're a billionaire. What are you doing? Now, $9,600 was the minimum ticket. So the sorriest ticket you could get was just south of $10,000.
Well, those have gone down, apparently.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to guess because the article does go on to expound. This was, again, they were distributed as of Thursday, the tickets for the championship game being distributed by the ACC in the respective schools, $70,000 per seat on StubHub, $9,600 at minimum last Sunday. As of Wednesday of this week, that ticket dropped dramatically to under $2,000. But they're saying the average price for a ticket to the ACC championship game, Matthew, is $1,900. What?
I'm looking at a Suite A 8 tickets worth almost $4,000.
For 8 tickets. Okay. Do you see any pairs of tickets anywhere?
Those are the only tickets I'm seeing available on StubHub.
That is unreal to me. Again, listen, I've gone to a Super Bowl. Now, I'm not talking about press passes. I've had press passes to World Series, Stanley Cup Finals, all that stuff, and that's the cool perk of the job. Got it. Cool. Not trying to rub it in, just noting that. In terms of my hard-earned money, what I would spend, what I have spent, the most expensive ticket. Now, listen, if we hadn't gotten press passes to cover Florida State in the national championship game in Pasadena at the Rose Bowl, which was a dream bowl for me to go to, I was going to buy tickets. I was going to go. In fact, I fought hard to get my father to try to go, and we were going to sit together and all of that, and I was willing to spend a pretty penny. In fact, I think I would have spent north of $1,000 per ticket to be at the Florida State Auburn national championship game. And in fact, the following year, I was so eager to get out there for the playoff game, the first ever college football playoff game against Oregon, which obviously didn't go our way. And I went, we had press passes. It was a lot of fun. You think about all that you're willing to do, right? You pay for airline tickets. You're going to have to stay somewhere, presumably a pretty nice place. So you're going to spend a certain amount on your hotel. You're going to have to get around. You're going to eat at restaurants. You're going to do it up right. I'm not cheap when it comes to these experiences. I'm all about experiences over things anyhow. So I'm willing to really give in that area. So this isn't about not wanting to spend to have a good time and have an experience with people you love or good friends and to see your school or anything like that. But this is an ACC championship game. This isn't the college football playoff or the national championship or the Super Bowl. I bought a ticket for the Super Bowl. I went to the Prince Super Bowl. Very fortunate. Got to see Prince live. I went to that Super Bowl between the Bears and the Colts. The famed Indianapolis-Chicago Super Bowl, in which the opening kickoff is a touchdown and Devin Hester. And in addition to that, it's a monsoon. That's the one where I lorded over folks that I got into the owner's box and ate lobster while others dealt with the rain. It was a good time, Matthew, a very good time. But the point is, I paid for that ticket. I had to pay for that ticket. I was not going to cover it as a member of the media, but rather as a fan. And I did not spend anywhere near $1,900 for a Super Bowl ticket. Now, I did spend about $1,000 for a Super Bowl ticket. That's crazy. Who's buying these tickets? The ACC released an update on its ticketing procedures Wednesday, saying that fans will receive an automatic refund for tickets purchased through a public channel. Tickets for the game went on sale through the ACC's official ticketing partner, Ticketmaster. In the fall, before the conference knew what state regulations would be in place at the time of the championship or which teams would be in the game, sites like StubHub, Vivid Seats, SeatGeek considered third-party sellers for the event, while Ticketmaster is the conference's official ticketing partner. As of Thursday, all sites posted a similar message: no tickets available whatsoever. The only tickets available are the 5,240 allotted split between Clemson and Notre Dame. Additionally, limited suites at Bank of America Stadium will be open for the event, as they've been for Carolina Panthers games all season. Middle end zone, I'm looking at it right now. They want you to see that they're not making this up as they go along. They posted a picture on the website where the story is on the CharlotteObserver.com of middle end zone. At one time last week, to sit in the freaking end zone, you were going to spend $9,600. What dumbass pulled the trigger on that? There's no way. Lower end zone, somebody was trying to sell them for $17,000. No. Clemson has been allocated 2,000 tickets for the game. Student athletes and staff will have access to tickets for their families first. Good. If I were their families, I'd say, son, I love you. I'm not going to the game. I'm selling your ticket for $9,000. I've seen you play a million football games. This is just the lowly ACC championship. I'm going to see you when you play in the college football playoff. I don't need to see you here. I'm going to buy your mother a car with your ticket. That's ridiculous. Clemson says that the university has plans to have a limited number, somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 75 tickets available for Clemson students. Hey, guys, first come, first serve. We got 50 tickets. Have at it. Jesus, Jimmy, I told you to be there on time. They've only got 50 tickets. I remember the process as a kid. I was a concert-going Jesse, and I saw U2. The first time I saw U2 in concert was 1984. Close your mouth, Matthew. That's how old I am. I was at U2 at the Sun Dome in 1984. And Red Rider opened, and they sucked. But that said, I went to that show, and you remember having to call Ticketmaster, and the second that it was announced the tickets would be going on sale, oh my God, it was just read out. And if it rang, you're like, yes! That process was maddening, and that went on forever. That's how you did tickets. First come, first serve. Then the internet was invented, and you're refreshing, trying to get to. That's still pretty much how it's done, right? There's got to be a better way. There just has to be a better way. What are we doing? I feel like we're stuck in 1984. We're still pretty much doing the same thing. Refresh, redial. And before the redial existed, you had to have the speediest damn fingers of all time. That's why people always won. The same people won every radio contest. It got so obvious, you'd be driving down the road. If you listened to one station long enough, you got to know the people that won the damn tickets because they would always bring them on the air and go, congratulations, Jackie, you won. Oh, amazing. And you're like, no, Jackie won last week. That son of a bitch. But Jackie had it down. Quickest hands in the West. In this case, the South. Anything over $25 for an ACC championship ticket seems a bit much to me. It's the ACC championship. For that matter, I don't really think I'd spend all that much on an SEC championship game. We have a college football playoff. If my team is anywhere close to being able to play in it, I really don't. Now, I get it. A lot of people say, I can't make that game. I'm not going to the playoff. I want to see my team. I'll go to the conference championship. Okay, within reason. $17,000. Get the hell out of here. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Once we were apart and I could see red. Never tried to turn back time. burn through a million lies. The whole world smelled like burning ties the day John Henry died. He knew about
So I think I don't often go down this road. I know, Matthew, as you fill in today producing, that you're a big wrestling guy. I was for a long time. Then I had a brief return because my kids absolutely loved it, but they've fallen out of love with it. By the way, this is true of a lot of things. You know, you see these commercials all the time about find out like what you're subscribed to. You might not even realize where some of your money's going because you forgot to cancel. What they don't talk about in those ads about, hey, let's find out where your money is, slowly draining to, is the difficulty in which many of those companies make it or operate under for you to be able to unsubscribe. I have a WWE account. What is that called? WWE Live or what?
Network.
Yes. So I have that account, right? Because my kids like to go back and watch all the old matches, and that was fun for me. I'd go back and find matches with Dusty Rhodes and Abdullah the Butcher and all these guys, and I thought it was great.
You're letting your kids watch Abdullah the Butcher?
Oh,
matches?
yeah, that's
my.
real wrestling, yeah. Jake the Snake.
Like the hardcore stuff?
Like where he's bleeding?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
absolutely. Oh, you gotta indoctrinate him early, man. You gotta get him going. My wife rolls her eyes at me all the time. I'm like, we should watch this movie. She's like, doesn't somebody get their face shot? Yeah, that's a tough part, but it's the world. We I don't want these kids walking out there getting caught off guard. There are things out there, man. So I always forget my oldest is pretty mature for his age, and I think sometimes I forget he's 13, and I'll be like, oh, tonight we're watching, whatever, Leatherface. My wife is the voice of reason. No, we're not. We're not watching that. What's wrong with you? All right, Deer Hunter it is. No, we're not watching that. Well, geez, what would you let him watch? Popeye? So we get into, and anyhow, with wrestling, I did it early and often because the best wrestling to me was back in the day where the storylines were insane. They used to love, you couldn't get away with the storylines that they got away with back then now, and many of them you shouldn't. But some of them, it's too funny. It's too funny. And I would let my kids watch that. But so I had that membership, and I thought I canceled it 3 years ago. I was just noticing the other day. I'm like, what's this $9.99? What is this? Oh, they got me again. Apparently, I've been paying them every month for 3 years. It's ridiculous. Pissed me off. I say that to say this. It's been a rough week in the WWE. Pat Patterson bit the dust at 79. I didn't know he was still alive. And now this news. Zeus, remember him? Had the messed up eye. Unfortunately for him, not trying to make fun. He did. What? Is there another way to say that? He had an eye that went inward. One that looked straight. Worst I ever felt. I had a coach. Now listen, everybody. Hey, Tom had. He said when he was a kid, his eye was kind of wavery. Kind of moved around a little bit, and so I'm sympathetic. I have friends that have that. I'm not making fun, but I did feel terrible one time. I had a coach in high school. He was animated, and he would scream you down, and he really got mad at the players he liked the most. I found out later on. So in some ways, him constant yelling at me should have been a compliment. But what I didn't like about it was I could never tell who he was talking to, and I enraged him because one time I was playing tight end, and I was supposed to block out, and I missed the block on the outside backer. I chose the wrong guy to block is the better way of saying it, and he blew the whistle, and he began to scream, and I thought he was talking to this other kid that was next to me because he had a really both eyes. It wasn't just one. They kind of went all over the map. It's like those googly-eyed things you see that you can stick on things. That's how his eyes were. They were. There was nothing he could do about it. Nice man. Again, sorry about that, Melody. That's the way it was. And he is steady screaming at me, and he's asking a question. He's asking a question. Why? Why would you? And he's and I'm not thinking anything of it. I'm like, man, he is really mad at Joe Clark. Jesus, Joe, what'd you do, Joe? And I continued to just look at him in amazement as he, I thought, screamed down Clark. And finally he said, and this is when it hit me, answer me! And I was like, Jesus, Joe, answer him. The man is asking you a question. And then that was followed up with, Cameron, would you please answer? I felt terrible. I still remember it to this day. Oh, I didn't know who you were looking at. That's probably not the answer. That's not the way you start back. Hey, I didn't know who you were looking at. But what it did was cause the team to laugh. So now the team's cracking up. This man looks like a buffoon. I've enraged him further. I never could get back on his good side. What are you going to do? Never could.
Jameis, why? Jameis, no.
So Zeus is dead, everybody, at the age of 62? 62. You guys remember Zeus. He was in the Friday films. He was in that god-awful wrestling movie, No Holds Barred. My goodness gracious. I thought he was bigger than he was. He was only 6'5". He seemed like a giant back then. Now there's so many 6'8", 6'9" wrestlers that are all massive that you don't think of him as being all that big. But he was, at 6'5", at one time in 1989, a massive figure in the world of the WWF back then, later the WWE. I do remember the match where he teamed up with Macho Man Randy Savage and faced off against Hogan and Brutus the Barber Beefcake. And I am longing for a better time. Damn it, man. 62. I don't want Tom to get caught off guard. When these guys die, a lot of times he doesn't realize it, and then I bring it up, and years later he's like, he's not dead. He's dead. Zeus died at 62, which what may be from complications to COVID. That's terrible to hear. And it's, you know what's kind of cool? I always thought, now he couldn't do it because he ended up obviously becoming very famous and was very distinctive. But guys that have this meteoric rise and like they become very famous in a short period of time. They play one role, one or two roles. They're iconic roles, but they never really find anything else moving forward. But I always think, man, you don't really realize that they can milk that for 15 years. You get paid to go give speeches or be at conventions and all these different things. You get paid a lot of money. You can one guy, one character. And when I find out, whenever these guys die, and you read where they were, you're like, oh, he was living in Beverly Hills. You think, he hasn't done anything substantial in 30 years. How much money did he make in the WWF or in that movie? Or how much money has he continued to make off that character? 1989 was the last time. 1997 was probably the last time he was relevant. It's 2020.
Hulk Hogan has had the same character, except for the brief heel run with NWO, since
the early 80s, right?
Yeah.
But think about
late
this.
70s.
Yeah, late 70s.
80s.
Yeah, but think about this. Hulk Hogan was the biggest wrestler in the world. He was probably the most impactful, significant wrestler of all time. It stands to reason that guy, because that's the other thing, nobody ever looked like Hulk Hogan in the beginning. I remember, I've told the story, I got his autograph as a kid. I used to see him in St. Pete.
It's all those vitamins.
Of course, those vitamins indeed. But I remember the first time I ever saw him, that looked like the biggest man to ever walk the earth. You're like, what in the world is that? Thunder Lips. We bring it up all the time. Partly because Sylvester Stallone's tiny in terms of height, but partly because, obviously, Hogan's 6'8", 300 plus pounds, 6'8", 6'9". So when you see those two together in cinema, in the ring, and the way they shot it, the angles, it was really smart. They made it truly look like he was a Goliath, right? There's David and Goliath story. That's the angle they're going for there, and you see that. But I remember thinking, well, he's going to be uber famous, and he doesn't really have to do anything else. The guys I'm talking about are these little niche characters, do something unique, come out of nowhere. I always wondered, who was Cyndi Lauper's boyfriend, that little skinny dude? Remember they were in the ring together for a while there, and he fought with Roddy Piper? There was that skinny guy. I'm sure he made good money off of Cyndi Lauper. But did he live the rest of his life in decadence? Did he live in a way that you would never guess? Like when he pops over dead, am I going to read that byline and then go, oh my God, this dude was living in Newport, California. Look at that. Who would have thought his sorry ass had been able to maintain that? I can't even remember his name. Do you see him?
David Wolf?
Yes, that's him. Is he still alive?
No.
No. I guess the answer is a resounding no, Jeff. He didn't.
No. He died in 2009.
Oh, it's been a good 11 years from a man, David Wolf, huh? Did it say where he died? Can we get a city on that? Can we stamp it?
Give me 1 second.
You're going to tell me. You watch. I want to know, did he hang in there or did he waste it all on drugs? Did he hit the streets or did he live in luxury? The clock's running.
There's no Wikipedia page for this guy.
I guarantee you there's a Wikipedia page for Zeus. All right, I'll leave it alone. That's it. Chef Cameron Show 97.9. We'll find this out. ESPN Radio.
Interrupting programs. This is Radio Crash on Pirate Satellite.
Final hour of the Jeff Cameron Show, at least for this week, and a glorious Libations Friday to you and yours. All right. Yeah, here we go. Weekend's about to get started. It's a football weekend and a basketball weekend. Hey. That will work. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free. Always don't miss anything. If you do, go back, get caught up at your leisure. And, that's possible because we go to Apple Podcasts, where if you're so kind and you feel inclined, rate us 5 stars. It helps others find the show, so I'm told. That's always good news. Like, for example, Travis tweeted at me today, hey, at Jay Cameron Show, how can I listen live in Tampa, St. Pete? Hashtag need it live for that ass. Thank you, Travis. I appreciate that you need it live for that ass. So you could stream ESPNTallahassee.com. And you could just use a web browser. You could just, find us that way. Go to YouTube. You could watch us if you'd like. And then I guess, you know what? By the way, we don't say this, but here, I'll pull it up. The TuneIn radio app. You can find any station in America. That's right. Just tune on in. You should be able to do it that way. We had, obviously, an app at one point. It works for me, but it doesn't work for everybody. That would be WTSM app. You can find that. I don't know. It works for me, but a lot of people say it doesn't work for them. I don't know what the hell's going on with that, guys. Really shouldn't be this hard. We ought to be better at this. I think we've got to get better. We're going to have to look inward. We're going to have to make some improvements. We've got to get better. People want the show. People need the show. They're tired of having to search for the show. So I will effort to make this an easier endeavor, and that way people all over the country who want to listen to the Jeff Cameron Show can do so without fretting. I will say, by the way, thanks over the last several weeks, I've had people reach out in different ways. I always like knowing that, because it can get lonely in here, guys. If you're watching on the YouTube feed, it's a little room. My little studio here. I like it. It's not the best studio I've ever been in, but it's not the worst, and it's mine. And that's fine. It's my little creature comfort every week is to come here. If I want solace, I can find it here. We got soundproof walls all around us, but you don't get a lot of sunlight in here. You don't get to see the faces of the listeners. You don't get a sense of the outside world whatsoever. And that's frustrating. So I really like it when somebody from Utah or somebody from California or somebody from, I don't know, Colorado. I just had that. Somebody from Denver said, hey, man, listening in Denver, really appreciate it. That boosts my spirits. It really does. I go, okay, good. We have a listener. I haven't reached out to him in a long time who listens to us in Alaska. We've got people in the military. Thank you for your service. All kinds. And it's Army-Navy weekend, so this is great. But we get people in the armed forces stationed all over the world. I remember one gentleman in the Army sent me a picture of his phone where he was in Germany listening to the program. I remember another guy who couldn't tell me where he was in Special Forces. And then, of course, the coolest picture we ever got was that photo of the guy breaking into the atmosphere, right? It was unbelievable. And it was he was listening, and you could see the reflection off his face gear of the ESPN Tallahassee. That was really cool. It was really cool. So that boosts the spirits. Happy Libations Friday, everybody. I have to wager with my mother here in a moment. But I mentioned it at the outset here. Let's get to this part of it, and that is that tomorrow morning when you get up, maybe you get your little mimosa going. If you're feeling it, if it's going to be an all-day sort of thing, if you're ready to get it on, I cannot and will not issue. I sound like Lyndon Johnson saying he will not accept the nomination of his party with men fighting overseas. With our men in the fields. I cannot and will not fire up the Cat 5. I can't do it. I got asked this week, is this weekend a Cat 5? Because an 11 a.m. tip for Florida State against Florida, rivalry game, basketball on the hardwood, the Noles looking to win their 7th straight against the University of Florida. Woo! My goodness. Coupled with, you go to that game, you enjoy yourself, you celebrate, hopefully, knock on wood, a victory there. You keep the streak alive. You edge ever closer to the Platinum Bohica, whatever it might be. That helps elevate your mood for the day. And then knowing that you go and you watch the Noles, again, limited numbers, but you make your way over to Bobby Bowden Field, Doak Campbell Stadium, Florida State, Duke, 4 o'clock. Good to have football back in town. Needed game for the money. And obviously, you hope that Florida State, despite the low numbers, despite having real issues, when you got 3 scholarship corners going into a game, it's a little dicey. You got 3. At least early in last hour, I said Miami's down to 4. There are a lot of teams in this boat, I understand, and Florida State is one of them. Oddly, and I have thrown out much of this season, 2020 is a lost campaign. College football has been affected greatly. I understood why they efforted to have this season. I know the money was necessary, and I know they felt like they could do it safely, and for the most part, certainly they have. We haven't had, knock on wood, the tragic situation arise. We were very concerned about that. Really hasn't happened. We've had some scares, and we did have a couple of players with, unfortunately, some other morbidities that did lead to problems. But for the most part, I think, every week we watch this, we monitor this, and we say, okay, games are being affected, but there so far haven't been devastating health issues. But the season feels like it's an asterisk season. I mean, again, apples and oranges when you're looking at a team that might play 6 games against a team that plays 12 games against a team that plays 4 games. And the problem I have, somebody has said, and I've had people ask me this, well, Jeff, don't you think Alabama's really good? Wouldn't you say Alabama's really good? Yes, Alabama's really good. They're good every freaking year. When you stockpile 5-star recruits for a decade straight, you've got good players. I know going in before the season ever kicks off that Alabama's really good. It doesn't mean that they're not compromised. And what I mean by that, it's that when you play LSU on the road at night, and that team is what they are this year, a season removed from winning a national championship. Well, the competition has been affected so greatly that you're not then tested. Those potential lulls or missteps are largely avoided because of the kind of carnage that's been reaped on so many teams. The inability to practice consistently, the inability for a lot of institutions, Florida State being one of them, to get the most out of their players, to be able to practice and install and teach and develop. It just feels like not a lot. I mean, look what's going to happen in the Big Ten. They've already passed and they should have. There's a part of me that thinks this is hilarious. They changed the rules. Yeah, they changed the rules. Are you crazy? Of course they changed the rules. What do you think they were going to do? Not let Ohio State get into the playoff? There's a lot of money at stake here. Of course they're going to. It's just, in a weird way, given the season of COVID and when they started in the Big Ten, it was a stupid rule to begin with. I'd have changed the rule and said, for Ohio State, they could just one game, 1-0, they're in. If the committee's dumb enough to look at that and say, yeah, we'll let you in. Okay, so clearly they're in on reputation. They have no good wins. There isn't a single win that they've amassed up to this point that you would go, that's impressive. No, not one. And they really don't have an opportunity to get one. It's what it is. It's a lazy man's answer, but it's true. It's really all about what they could get done to salvage the losses, find a way to mitigate the damage done, and make a little bit of money. I'll watch. I mean, I'm a hypocrite. I'm going to watch. I watch the games every week. I continue to, even though I think it's a farce. I watch the games every week. I'll watch this weekend. I'll excitedly sit down to watch my college football. And there have been great moments. There are moments this season that we'll look back on, and you'll be glad that you saw it. You'll be glad that it was played, and you're glad that they're able to recoup something. because obviously when you think of the devastation, it's not just about football. It's really about all these other programs that are so affected now. You really do wonder what's going to happen to golf programs, tennis programs, swimming and diving programs, track programs. We're seeing programs cut all over the country. It's another reason why when you think about Florida State, Florida tomorrow, and you think about the college basketball season and the ongoing conversation about what do we do? What do we do? Should we be playing these games? And coaches are expressing these concerns. And can't we just push it back a little bit? And looks like we're going to be in the clear come, March or April. Like maybe we push it back a little bit. Maybe you do. Certainly an open discussion. We know now that these players are indeed what? Essential workers. That's what they are. They're essential workers. Amateurism is out the window, everybody. It's pretty obvious. These guys are essential workers above and beyond what a scholarship gets you. It's paramount that they bring it every week to play these games, right? We need them to make money. They're essential workers, right? Okay. Well, what I do think about, though, is the necessity of playing these games because we're going to see programs just go away. Athletic departments disappear. You go another season without an NCAA tournament, a March Madness, say goodbye to a lot. Say goodbye to a lot. I hope that it is the impetus in due time, though. I really do. I hope it's the impetus for change, a reevaluation of the economic system and the way the NCAA runs college athletics. I am hoping, and really these athletic departments have to look inward too, realizing now how everything is predicated on having seasons uninterrupted and these student athletes to be in a position to play week in and week out and get those advertising dollars and get the television money and all that. You hope that they understand that we're going to have to look long and hard at the system because it only took one year like this for them to realize, holy hell, this is a house of cards. We got some issues. Chef Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Well, that on a Libation Friday means it's time to talk to Mama, make some picks. We got some catching up to do. We have caught up off the air, my mom and I. We wanted to see where it would be, and it turns out I'm up by 2. The last we did this, I was up by 1. We had one different a week ago or the week that we missed, where it was Carolina and Detroit, and I had Carolina, she had Detroit. Carolina shut out Detroit. We had the exact same picks, oddly enough, last week, so it just stays at 2 for yours truly. If you would, Matthew, cue it up, sir.
And now for another edition of the Family Pick. Nick,
Go to your room!
Ma, the meatloaf!
take it away, Jeffrey.
All right, Mama, so we're going to get right to with a good game. Last night's game was not. We both had the Rams to beat the Patriots. I thought it would be a better game than that because of the Patriots' defense, but obviously Cam Newton is not what he wants.
I tell you what, and New England, I thought had been playing a little better recently, but that game was terrible.
But this first game is not, and let's go Vikings-Bucks. At a game that I'll be at.
I think it is a good game. I am taking the Bucks to get back on the winning track.
I am too. I think they will. The Vikings defense should help out there. Arizona at the newly reborn New York Giants.
I know it. Isn't that something? I'm taking Arizona, but the Giants are really playing a lot better. But I'm taking Arizona.
I'm torn, but I'm going to take the Giants, Mom. We got one different there right off the bat.
I kind of thought you might.
Well, I love the way their defense is playing, and I am not really impressed at all with Kyler Murray right now. I think he's hurt. I think he's playing hurt. He's not making the plays.
I think he is too. Doesn't he have something wrong with his shoulder?
He does, and he's not running around like he did earlier this year, and he's been inconsistent as a thrower as well. So I'll take the Giants. I think they're playing with a lot of momentum right now.
I probably should have taken them myself. I may, but I'm hanging in there with Arizona another week.
Here's what I'm going to tell you before this next game. This game's coming down to the wire. Nobody believes me. I'm telling you it's coming down to the wire. Kansas City at Miami. I'm taking Kansas City.
You think it's coming down to the wire? Do you really?
Yeah, I think it's a field goal game. Yes, I do.
I'm taking Kansas City.
Me too, but I'm telling you, don't be stunned if the Dolphins have a chance to win this late. Don't be stunned.
Well, listen, I kind of like the Dolphins. I mean, obviously, I grew up in Miami, so I kind of have a soft spot for them, I guess.
Yeah.
But I just sort of think that they're playing pretty good, but I do love Kansas City, so I have to hang in with Kansas City.
Well, Kansas City's the better team, but it's about the spot. First of all, traveling down to Miami, a lot of people struggle with that. A lot of people struggle with the heat, especially this time of year, where I know it'll be a beautiful day to Miamians, but it'll be warm to everybody else. And then also, just for whatever reason, we've seen good teams go down to Miami and struggle to acclimate for years. Seattle has had a hard time. New England back in the day had a hard time winning down to Miami. And I just kind of feel like that travel is tough on teams. And the Dolphins under Flores are a different team. They play hard every week. They play really good on defense. They're usually well prepared. They don't beat themselves. So I'll take the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins keep it close, but we both have the Chiefs to win it ultimately. All right, let's move forward. Titans at Jags. We both got the Titans, I assume.
Yes, I do. But I tell you what, that Titan team is confusing to me because one week they play really good, and then the next week they don't. I don't quite understand it.
Well, because they're not good on defense. They're terrible on third down. They don't do a lot to stop the run. They're one of the worst teams against play action in the league. Offensively, they're reliant, obviously, on a strong run game. The problem is if they get down early, it gets awfully tough to come back when that's your strength. So they're kind of a team that's got too many holes right now to be considered a serious contender for the Super Bowl. But they're a good team. They're just not a great team, but we both like them this week against the Jags.
Yeah, I think they should beat Jacksonville.
Oh, sweet Jesus, they better.
I know.
All right, these two teams suck by any definition. It really isn't a redeeming quality to either one of these two teams, but we have to pick one of them. The Cowboys are at the Bengals.
I know. Isn't that a terrible game?
It's embarrassingly bad.
I took Cincinnati.
I don't know what to do with this. I don't think I can. I'm going to take Dallas. We got two different. I'll take the Cowboys. I don't know. I think it's kind of a coin toss. Cincinnati doesn't have Burrow anymore. I know
they don't, but don't they have the guy that was at Dallas as quarterback now?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know who's playing quarterback in Cincinnati.
I think it's Andy Dalton.
No,
Dalton's not a world beater.
Mom. Andy Dalton's playing for the Cowboys now. You've got it reversed.
Okay. Well, then who is playing? See, I thought that he was now with Cincinnati. I thought he had left Dallas.
No, no. He went from Cincinnati to Dallas, Mama.
All right. I got it backwards. Well, I don't know then who's playing for Cincinnati.
Yeah, I think I do. Isn't it an Allen? There's like 16 Allens that play quarterback in this league occasionally. I don't know. I think it may be Allen. I'll have to. This is sad. I'm going to look this up right now. I'm going to.
Yeah, please look it up because
this is embarrassing.
Really,
we don't know. Who's
I don't know why I thought. I looked it up because when I was trying to pick it, and that's why I thought I knew that.
No, you looked at the wrong guy. All right, let's go through this here. Really, yeah, they have Brandon Allen, right? Isn't that who's playing quarterback for them? Brandon Allen. He's the kid out of Arkansas. He's not any good. I think that's correct. That's who they have playing quarterback.
All right. Well, I'm taking him. I have my name by here, so I'm sticking with it.
They also have Ryan Finley from NC State. He came in last week, and he's garbage as well.
Oh, Lordy, I know. I tell you what. You know how you always say if you have a quarterback, you've got a chance. If you don't, you don't. And I tell you, I think that's a total truism because neither one of these teams has a quarterback.
That's right. So they're just going to stumble in the dark.
I know it's going to be a. What that guy bumbling down the field or whatever?
Yeah.
I know it's a crazy thing. It's a crazy game.
I'm going to say this is a pillow fight. These two teams here. This is.
I know. I hope we don't have to watch it on TV.
You don't. All right. I took Dallas. You took Cincinnati. Another bad game here. The Texans are at the Bears. Everybody's on quick watch right now.
I'm looking at this. It doesn't even look like I picked this game. I took Houston.
I took Houston too. I did too. I think the Bears have quit on Nagy, so I'm going to go ahead and go with Houston. Houston's still playing hard. They lose, but they play hard.
Yeah.
They also have the better quarterback by a lot. Broncos at Panthers.
The Panthers.
Terrible game. But
Terrible
I'll take,
game. See, that's what I said. We've got a lot of these.
Yeah, I'll take the Panthers. Jets at Seahawks. We're both taking the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Colts at Raiders.
Colts at Raiders. Yeah, and wow, it's at the Raiders. Well, I took Indy.
I did too. The Raiders are playing terrible right now. They just got beat 2 weeks ago like a drum by Atlanta. They should have lost to the Jets last week. Give me the Colts. All right, Washington. Now, this is suddenly a good game. Washington is at San Francisco. And by the way, if that's just not the best story in the world, seeing Alex Smith get that win last week after all that he's been through, that is so cool.
I watched that documentary
Me too.
about him on ESPN, and I mean, it's unbelievable that he is out there.
It is unbelievable. And if you guys listening have not seen that, pull it up and watch it, what my mom's referencing. You can find it on demand. It's like an E60 or whatever. It's
amazing. I mean, he had like 27 surgeries on his leg. I mean, and when you watch that, and you see his leg, and I mean, oh my God, it's just unbelievable.
It's hard to look at. There are a couple moments in there.
It is hard to look at.
A couple of moments in there where you're almost physically ill looking at his leg, and then also there are moments in there you feel so bad for him where he's about to lose it, where he can't hang, where he's in so much pain and he's devastated. To think going from that to where he is now, winning a game on the road against the Steelers in that situation, down 14 points. Yeah, man, he's first of all comeback player of the year. It's not close. Secondly, that's really the best story in the NFL this year. It's really cool.
Yeah, and I always really have liked him from the beginning, and I'm really happy for him. And I tell you, talk about courage. I really think I don't know that I would even want to get back out on the field after going through what he went through.
Well, in his first game back, he took quite a few hits, too. And I thought, every time he gets hit, the whole nation kind of grimaces like,
I know,
please get back
hold
up.
Their breath. I can't imagine being his family, his wife and his mother. I just can't imagine them watching that. But obviously, he's quite something. But, well, and this game, I know this is a hard game. I would have taken San Francisco really hands down, but now I'm not really sure. I think I'm going to take Washington.
I'm torn on the game. I really am. San Francisco has a problem at quarterback. The thing is, though, I do like their defense on the whole, and Washington is playing much better. They're playing very inspired, but they're not a great team. I'm torn. But I, too, will probably go. Yeah, I'll go with Washington. I've convinced myself to go with the football team. We'll go with Washington. All right.
Yeah, I kind of just. I guess I'm picking Alex Smith. I guess I don't know. I'm rooting for him.
All right, we're both taking the Saints over the Eagles in a no-brainer. We've got a tough one here. Two really disappointing teams. The Falcons at the Chargers. I don't know where to go with this.
I took Atlanta. I got my initial by Atlanta.
I'll do the same. Packers at Lions. We both got the Packers. Here's a good one. Steelers at Bills.
I know. That is a good one, isn't it? I tell you, I'm going to take Pittsburgh because I think they're going to be really angry that they lost. And I just think.
Okay.
I don't know. I think that's going to come down to maybe in the fourth quarter. I mean, I think this could be a really close game, but I'm taking Pittsburgh.
Give me the Bills. Josh Allen and the Bills, I think, are arguably the second best team in the AFC. I like them to win this game. I think they're playing exceptional football right now, and I like the maturation process of Josh Allen at quarterback. He keeps getting better every week, so I'll take the Bills there. Finally, Monday Night Football, a good game. The Ravens at the Browns. This is a war.
I know it, and it's interesting because for a while there we were saying we thought maybe Baker Mayfield. Nobody really knew if he was going to be able to be any good or not. But then he's been doing a lot better. I mean, that win over, who was it they just beat? That was
Titans.
Yeah. And anyway, that was really quite something. So I don't know, though. I just don't know about this game. They're playing at Cleveland, right?
Yes, they are.
I picked Baltimore. So,
all right.
You know how I love Cleveland. I just don't know what to do.
Final answer, game. Mother. I need an answer.
I know it. All right, I'm sticking with Baltimore.
I'll take Cleveland. There we go. We got another one different. 4 games different this week. I've got the Browns. You're going to kick yourself when the Browns beat the Ravens.
I know it. I will kick myself.
All right. So now let me tell you real quick. Put it on your list. Put stars next to these games, Mother. We've got 4 different. You're 2 down as we head into the weekend. I've got the Giants. You've got the Cardinals. I've got Dallas. You've got Cincinnati. I've got the Bills. You've got the Steelers. And I've got Cleveland. And you've got Baltimore.
I know. Now, that game right there, I am probably going to be upset with myself because, I love Cleveland. I've loved them from way back when.
You love 6 teams. It's ridiculous. You've got a soft
spot. Well, I do have certain teams that I really like. I mean, not as much as the Bucks, but I do. I like Cleveland. I really have always liked the Raiders. Now, I'm kind of disappointed in them since they moved to Las Vegas, but anyway, and I like Green Bay a lot. I do have, and I actually like Arizona and Kansas City.
Yeah, I told you, you've got 7 teams you like a lot, yes.
I know it. I do have a lot of teams that I like, that I follow and hope they do good. So anyway, we'll see what happens. I need to win some of these.
Yeah, I hope you don't. I love you, Mama. Have a great weekend.
I love you, too. Have a great weekend.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
There we go. There's Mama and her 7 teams she likes. Well, in truth now, for a second, when you really, and I will say this in her defense, when you get older, and I'm 49, and my wife reminded me this morning as I'm walking out the door, happy half birthday. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, you're at the halfway point. 6 months from today, you'll be 50. Jesus, hun.
Cold-blooded.
Cold-blooded indeed. I wasn't thinking about it. I was thinking it's a beautiful day out. It's Friday. I had a meeting this morning. It went really well. I enjoyed my conversation and breakfast with the gentleman that I met. I've been working today. I wasn't thinking, and then every once in a while, a little whisper in my ear, you're going to be 50 in 6 months. Leave me alone. Don't remind me of that. Anyhow, as you get older, fits of nostalgia hit you, and appreciation for things that maybe you once loathed is entirely possible. It's happened to me. I can't believe it's happened to me. You're cynical when you're young. And you're obviously almost militant in your stances across the board, no matter what they are, whether it's you like a team or dislike a team, you're for a cause, against a cause, whatever it is. You've got that piss and vinegar in you. You got that. You can do it. But you get a little older and you gain a little perspective and you see nuance in everything. Now, some things obviously are cut and dry. But when it comes to fandom in teams, in leagues, and if you've been a lifelong sports fan, then you've had moments in which every team has affected your fandom. So if you're an Eagles fan the way Matthew is, or you're a Bucks fan the way I am, every team in the league at some point has dealt a blow to you. You've seen them lose a game they shouldn't have to Arizona or something. And then out of nowhere you find yourself having a little piece of hatred for Arizona because of what they just did. They had the gall to rise up and beat you at a time that they shouldn't. But then it flips. You begin to have an appreciation over time for franchises that have helped make your Sundays enjoyable. They're a part of your Sundays. The NFL is a part of your Sunday. And you also begin to visit cities. And you meet more people because you've been around longer to meet more people. And eventually you run into a fan of almost every team in the league. I think I know somebody in my life that roots for every team in this league. I've got a friend who's a fan, or at least an acquaintance, maybe a coworker from yesteryear, who is a fan of a team that represents every city in this league. So, I can look at it. Do I know anybody that roots for the 49ers? I do. Do I know anybody who roots for the Jets? Oddly, I do. Do I know anybody that roots? My lone exception, I think, might be the Texans. I don't think I know anybody that's a Texans fan. I may be wrong on this. Texas is an awfully big state, and I've met many Texans. But I wonder, they're all Cowboys fans. When I meet people from Texas, they're Cowboys fans. They're not Texans fans. You know anybody that roots for the Texans, Matthew? Anybody in your life that you've ever met that roots for the Texans?
I don't think so.
Right. So I know a Lions fan. I know two of them. Plenty of Packers and Steelers. I know Browns and Ravens fans. I know Raiders fans for sure. Seahawks, Bears. Know a ton of Bears fans. I know a ton of Vikings fans. I can name... Obviously, you're a Philly fan. I can go on down the list. I know my best friend's wife is a lifelong Washington fan, so I know her really well, and she's great. I know plenty of Jags fans because of the proximity that we're in. Of course, I know a ton of Dolphins fans. I just do. I know somebody who roots for every team. So you end up having an appreciation for teams, and so I wouldn't say that I root for all these other teams, but like, when games, I said this to you one time, Matthew, about baseball. You live long enough, you meet a White Sox fan, you meet a whatever fan, and you may not like the organization because they're rivals, or you may not like a team. But when that team wins something significant, your thought goes to your friend, goes to somebody that you do care about, and you're happy for them. Good, I don't care about the team, but good for them. So I think it's what my mom has done over the years. She's done this thing where she knows Kansas City fans and she kind of took a liking to them. Or she'll like a coach or a player that played for an organization. And I can usually do that. I can usually go to every team and say, oh, I loved so-and-so. Even arch rivals. I can find a player where I say, God, I always admired him. He was a badass. Luke Kuechly. Good Christ, I hate Carolina, but that guy was as admirable as they come. And they've had others, but he was especially tough, and I admired him. So I think I have a player that I could name from every team that I appreciated or enjoyed watching, rooted for privately. Like, I hope he does well. I'd like to see him do well. I don't need the team to do well, but I'd like that guy to do well. So I'll give her a pass on her 7-team fandom. I like the Packers. No, Mom, you like Aaron Rodgers. I like Kansas City. No, I think you have a soft spot for Andy Reid's fat ass. Well, she does. She does. So do you. Yeah. It's the Jeff Cameron Show. We'll come back, wrap it up. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., me and Tom Lang will get together. We'll actually get together just before that. But for your consumption, at 9 a.m., it begins Tallahassee game day. Florida State. Dude, can you believe it? It's a game weekend. Doesn't quite feel like it, but okay. I think we're more distracted by it's a game weekend for basketball at 11 a.m. Hence the reason we're going on at 9 a.m. because normally we'd go 10 to noon for Tallahassee game day, but we know most of you are going to be watching Florida State basketball against the hated Gators, and so we decided to get in early and do it from 9 to 11 so that we, too, could watch that basketball game and make the most and best use of our time. We shall, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. You can watch that on War Chant TV on YouTube. You can tip us if you'd like. You can ask us questions if you'd like. All that stuff. We'll take some of those as well, and we appreciate all of it. And that's at 9 a.m. And then it's time to get it on. The Noles, Gators, and looking to try to conclude a perfect week. And not one that I frankly thought we could get. I, at the beginning of the week, said, hey, listen, you got Indiana and Florida, and we're rusty and raw and working new pieces into play. Now, there are no guarantees they win tomorrow, so we'll see. But it's nice having that other one in your back pocket so that you know at the very least you're 500 against two good teams early in the season while you try to figure it out. This final segment brought to you by Widden Glass. Widden Glass, a family-owned and operated business serving Tallahassee and the Big Bend area since 1945. They're Tallahassee's first family and glass replacement. Highly respected for their quality of installation, both residential and commercial. Widden Glass, 222-5781. That's 222-5781. We thank them as we enter into the weekend. Real quick playoff picture. Obviously, the Chiefs have clinched. They're in. The Saints have clinched. They're in. If you look at AFC, NFC, in the hunt from there are a whole bunch of teams. Steelers, of course, are going to be a playoffs team. If the season ended today, they would be there, obviously. But they have not officially clinched, and they've got their matchup against the 9-3 Bills this weekend. That should be really, really fun. In the hunt in the NFC, same thing. Teams that are likely to get in just by record, obviously, as the 2 and 3 seeds. We've got the Packers, the Rams. The Giants right now would be your NFC East champion at 5-7, but that is a battle now that Washington's playing well. The Seahawks would be your 5 seed at 8-4. They're second in the NFC West right now. They got the Jets this weekend. They should go to 9-4. And then my Tampa Bay Buccaneers would be the 6th seed. Remember, this year we got 7 teams on each side. So right now, the Vikings, who face off against Tampa Bay, are in the playoffs. If the season ended today, they are in at 6-6, second in the NFC North. A lot on the line in that game. Back over to the AFC, we talk about the seeding. The Chiefs have already clinched a playoff spot. They're 11-1. The Steelers 11-1. They're kind of tied for that first spot. But then it's the Bills. Then it's the Titans, who are 8-4. But are first in the AFC South, and because of that, even though they just got hammered by the Browns, who are 9-3, better record, and a team that beat them head-to-head, the Browns would still be a 5 seed because they're second in the AFC North, as we know. The Dolphins are in as of right now, second in the AFC East at 8-4, still have an outside chance to actually win the division, Dolphin fans. There you go. Colts would be the 7 seed. They're 8-4, second in the AFC South. We look at the bubble teams right now with important games. Raiders, Cardinals, Ravens, technically the Bears as well, Patriots, Lions. At that point, we start to move on. Really, I don't know how seriously you consider the 4-8 Broncos or the 5-7 49ers, but you do have to consider that Washington, who right now would be considered the 12th seed in the NFC, if you will, like they're well out, but they can fight their way in. They're second in the NFC East at 5-7, so their path is to win the division. Obviously, that's what we're looking at for them. So, who of those teams, of the bubble teams, I'll throw them out there to you again, teams that if the playoffs started today, they would not be in, are you going to vote for to get in? I think I know the answer, Matthew. The question's posed to you. Raiders, Ravens. They're on the outside looking in. Both those teams right now are on the outside looking in. Who of those two teams do you think gets in the playoffs, and who do they replace? The answer is probably the Colts, but who are you looking at?
I would have to go with the Ravens on that.
Mm-hmm. And that's because you think that they would end up either in a better position after beating Cleveland in the AFC North and moving into the second spot. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that's the right answer. In the NFC, I don't know how seriously it gets really interesting. The Vikings right now are the 6th seed, but they have the same record as the Cardinals. They have one game better record than the Bears, who are fading fast.
And their turnaround has been incredible.
Yes.
We talk about it every year. No team has made the playoffs after going 0-4.
0-4, I think.
But they started 1-5.
Yeah, they were terrible, and they couldn't stop anybody. And all of a sudden, they're 6-6. Now, the one thing about the Vikings, and you bring up a good point, their turnaround is remarkable. But let's go back and look at this, because I was trying to make a case that the Vikings could beat the Bucs, and I can make that case. If I needed to, I could make the case that the Vikings could easily beat the Bucs. The Bucs are fading on defense right now. I think every Buccaneer fan is very, very nervous by what they see with this defense. But let's do this. Let's pull this up. Right when I start to do that, I'm reminded that the Vikings, while 6-6 and the turnaround is real, who have they beaten? Who have they beaten? You ready? Their schedule, and let's see. Why can't I get the Vikings schedule here? Pull up the Vikings schedule, everybody. Sorry about that. It's not pretty.
I got it here.
Give it to me. The last 5 weeks, give me who they've beaten.
They've beaten the Packers on the road.
That was a huge win, an impressive win. Next.
They beat the Lions at home.
Not impressive.
The Bears on the road.
Not impressive.
They lost to the Cowboys.
Embarrassing.
They beat the Panthers by 1 point.
Not impressive.
They beat the Jaguars
in overtime. That's a whole lot of struggle bus right there.
But luckily for them, they have the Bucs this week, but then they get the Bears. They have a tough matchup against the Saints the next week, but then they get the Lions to end the year.
8-8. So we're looking at an 8-8 campaign to see if that's going to be good enough to get in. Kind of fun to do, though. It is fun to look at it that way. When you're arguing about who else was going to supplant them, it's awfully hard to find a team. I mean, the Bears are fading fast, obviously, as we noted. There's really not another team that you go, oh yeah, no, they're easy. They're gonna replace the Vikings. I don't know. I think the Vikings go 8-8. They're gonna get in. That's the weekend that is. We got college football. Obviously, nothing great out there in college football this weekend to be excited about. Ordinarily, we'd be pumped about LSU at Florida, but that's a nothing game now. I think Florida will dominate that game in a big way. There's just not – Army-Navy is really the thing. We got Army-Navy. Love it. Thank goodness we got Army-Navy. It's always my favorite game of the year. I'll be watching Army-Navy. I'll obviously go Army beat Navy. I say that every year, but – just because my dad and my granddad and all that. But I look forward to that game. I look forward to the respect shown in that game. It's awesome. The two branches always do such a good job with that game. But really my ticket is on the NFL, as I noted. Last night, winner chicken dinner, had the under 55 between Pitt and Georgia Tech. Came in at 54. A little 54 action, and they were on the 13.
That handshake.
My man's crazy crying ass. What are we doing? What is that about? How can you be mad at Pitt for the anger you feel towards the referees?
A child.
A child indeed. Listen, suddenly Collins is developing a terrible reputation. I did not realize this, but so one of the reasons that Clemson blows out Georgia Tech and does so and continues to throw despite the fact that they're in the 60s is because Dabo hates Jeff Collins because of some Mickey Mouse stuff that he said they did when they came on the field for warm-ups working out with weights on their field, and it pissed him off. And he's like, what kind of buffoon is this out here? He's got his guys working out with weights on my field. So he just decided from that point forward he's going to run it up. At first I thought, okay, Dabo, get over yourself. Now I see Collins with this move, and I think, okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here. My man's a baby. He's got some issues. There's some clownish behavior on a regular basis there. Good work out of you, Matthew. Thank you for stepping up big. Tom was out today. It is understandable, but you filled the shoes nicely. We appreciate it. And to all of you who, as I used to say, called and or listened, surely do appreciate it. Be well. Have a great weekend. Go Noles. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., I'm on the air with Tom as we'll broadcast for Tallahassee Game Day. You can also watch it if you want to on War Chant TV on YouTube. Be well, everybody. Peace.
If I